Have you ever sat quietly at the end of a long afternoon, staring at a blank screen or looking out a window, watching the daylight slowly fade, wondering why time seems to move so fast for everyone else, while your own life feels completely stalled? You look around at the world outside your window or on your phone, and it feels like everyone is constantly moving forward. You see people stepping into exciting new roles, celebrating life milestones, or walking with a sense of calm certainty that feels entirely out of your reach right now. They seem to know exactly where they are going, while you are left standing on the sidelines, holding a heart full of hopes that haven't quite found a place to land. In those quiet, heavy moments, a gentle but painful question begins to loop in your mind. Am I being left behind? Have I somehow missed my turn? If you are carrying that quiet weight today, please take a deep breath and let your shoulders drop. You don't have to carry the heavy burden of trying to figure everything out right this second. You are exactly where you need to be to hear this message, and you are not broken just because your timeline looks different from what you expected. Before we move any further, I want us to create a small space of connection together. Take a moment right now to leave a simple affirmation in the comments below. My time is coming, and I trust my pace. Typing those words isn't just about leaving a comment under a video. It is a small, intentional act of reclaiming your focus. It is a way of speaking gently to your own heart and reminding yourself that your story is far from over. It is still unfolding, right here, right now, in the quiet places. Waiting is rarely loud or dramatic. It doesn't usually look like a crisis that everyone comes running to help you solve. Most of the time, waiting looks like the subtle, exhausting weariness of putting in genuine effort day after day without seeing any immediate results. It is the quiet frustration of preparing for doors that haven't opened yet, or holding on to hope when the horizon looks completely unchanged month after month. It is waking up in the morning with a heart full of willingness, doing the best you can, and going to sleep feeling like you didn't move an inch closer to where you want to be. When you are in a season of waiting, it is so easy to start turning on yourself. You begin to question your talent, your worth, and your decisions. You look back at old choices and wonder if you made a wrong turn somewhere along the way. You wonder if you didn't speak up fast enough, if you didn't work hard enough, or if you simply weren't good enough to deserve the break you've been praying for. The silence of waiting can make your doubts feel incredibly loud. But feeling like you are standing still does not mean nothing is happening. Sometimes, the most significant shifts in life occur in the places no one else can see. Just because there is no noise, no applause, and no visible movement on the surface doesn't mean your life has lost its momentum. Think about how much strength it takes just to keep showing up when you feel invisible. Think about the quiet courage it takes to keep your heart open when you've felt disappointed again and again. That isn't wasted energy. That is depth being built inside of you. You are not failing simply because your life requires more time to build than someone else's. The roots of a deep life take time to stretch down into the earth before anything can bloom on top. Right now, in this silence, in this heavy weight of waiting, you are putting down those roots. You are learning patience. You are learning resilience. And you are learning how to be kind to yourself when things don't go according to plan. So if you are tired today, let yourself feel that fatigue without judging yourself for it. It is okay to feel weary. It is okay to wish things were moving a little faster. But do not mistake the delay for a final answer. Your story is still being written. The quiet work is taking hold, and the space you are in right now is preparing you for everything you've been waiting for. There is a very distinct, heavy kind of exhaustion that comes from trying to force a door that simply isn't ready to open. You double your efforts, you adjust your strategies, you stay up late into the night, refining your plans. And yet, despite every ounce of energy you throw into the effort, the outcome remains just out of your reach. It feels like reaching out into a dark room, stretching your arms as far as they will go, hoping to catch on to something solid, only to feel your fingers close around empty air. You try again and again, moving through the darkness with your heart pounding, convinced that if you just reach a little further, work a little harder, or sacrifice a little more, you will finally find what you are looking for. When you live like that for a long time, it drains the spirit in a way that sleep cannot fix. It is easy to interpret this constant resistance as a sign of personal failure. You sit in the quiet aftermath of another closed door and think, maybe I am just not doing enough. Maybe if I were smarter, faster, or more capable, this wouldn't be so hard. You start to turn your own dedication into evidence against yourself, believing that your lack of immediate results means you lack intrinsic value. Think back to a time when you tried to rush a situation, a project you desperately wanted to succeed, a connection you were trying to preserve, or a difficult life situation you were trying to resolve in a hurry. Remember how every time you tried to force a resolution, it felt like pushing against a wall of thick fog? Pushing harder didn't bring clarity. It only brought fatigue. It left you feeling more lost and disoriented than you were before you started. When we attempt to force timing, we strain our minds and bodies trying to control variables that were never ours to manage in the first place. We spend our precious life force trying to engineer outcomes before the foundation beneath us is sturdy enough to hold them. Resistance in life is not always an obstacle telling you to give up or stop trying entirely. Often, resistance is a gentle boundary, a quiet pause placed in your path to remind you to stop pushing against what isn't aligned with where you are right now. It is life's way of saying, not like this, and not yet. Effort matters deeply, of course. Working hard and showing up for your dreams is a beautiful quality. But effort applied in opposition to your present readiness only drains the exact energy you will need for actual, lasting growth. When you spend all your strength trying to force an premature outcome, you leave yourself empty for the moments that actually call for your presence. Imagine what it would feel like to unclench your hands right now. Imagine letting go of the desperate need to make something happen today that simply needs time to grow. Releasing your grip does not mean you are giving up on your goals, nor does it mean you care any less about your future. It simply means you are choosing to trust that reaching into the dark and grabbing blindly isn't the only way to find your way forward. Sometimes, the most powerful thing you can do when you feel lost in the dark is not to run faster or search harder, but to simply stop moving, sit down, and let your eyes adjust. When you stop fighting the reality of where you are, the room doesn't feel quite so terrifying. You begin to realize that the dark isn't empty. It is just quiet. And in that quiet space, you can finally hear yourself breathe, gather your strength, and wait for the light to catch up to you. When nothing seems to be changing on the outside, it is so easy to assume that no real progress is occurring. You look at your daily life, and to your eyes, everything looks painfully identical to how it looked last month, or even last year. The routine feels familiar, the landscape remains unchanged, and the progress you so deeply crave seems completely absent. It can make you feel as though all your patience and internal effort are simply dissolving into nothingness. Yet, deep within the architecture of our minds and hearts, periods of apparent stillness are often when our most profound realignment takes place. Beneath the surface of a quiet life, an invisible construction is happening. Without always realizing it, you are examining your long-held habits, quietly discarding old ways of thinking that no longer protect you, and learning to let go of patterns that are far too small for where you are meant to go. The Swiss psychiatrist Carl Jung once offered an insight that touches the very core of this experience. He wrote, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate." What Jung was highlighting is that so much of what we experience as external delay, repeated frustration, or feeling stuck stems from hidden, unconscious patterns within ourselves, attitudes we inherited, old fears of failure, or deep-seated expectations that we haven't yet taken the time to truly examine. When life seems to pause, and when the outer world slows down to a crawl, it is not a punishment. It is often a necessary invitation to look inward and make those hidden patterns conscious for the very first time. Think about the sheer amount of quiet work you have done lately, without ever giving yourself credit for it. Think about the moments you chose not to react with the same old anger, or the times you quietly caught yourself slipping into harsh self-criticism and decided to treat yourself with a little more kindness instead. Think about how you are slowly learning what boundaries you need, what kind of peace you require, and what true stability feels like. None of that shows up on a resume, a public update, or a clear external milestone. No one stands up to applaud you when you quietly reframe a painful thought in the middle of the afternoon. But that invisible labor is the most vital work you will ever do. The time you spend in these periods of delay is never wasted time. It is the sacred, necessary space required to understand why you react the way you do, why certain past outcomes were never truly suited for you, and what your heart genuinely needs before you take your next step forward. If you feel like you are buried in the dark right now, try to consider the possibility that you haven't been buried. You have been planted. The work happening within you right now is building the emotional foundation, the maturity, and the self-awareness that will keep you grounded when your life eventually expands. Trust the quiet work happening beneath the surface, because the roots you are growing today are what will sustain everything you build tomorrow. Many of us carry an invisible blueprint around in our heads, a strict, detailed timeline created years ago about exactly where we were supposed to be by a certain age or stage of life. We expected to have reached specific milestones by now. We thought we would have secured a certain level of stability, found clear direction, or walked into a version of our lives that felt settled and complete. When we look at our present reality and realize it doesn't match that rigid blueprint, we experience a quiet, aching grief for the life we thought we would be living by today. It is a very heavy thing to mourn a future you had already pictured so clearly in your heart. You look at the calendar, or you remember an old version of yourself who felt so sure about where you'd be right now, and you feel a sudden pang of regret. You wonder if you made a wrong turn somewhere, or if you failed the younger version of yourself who had such bright, specific expectations. Consider how much unnecessary pressure comes from constantly comparing your actual, living reality to an arbitrary schedule you set when you were younger, back when you knew far less about the world and far less about who you truly are. You are evaluating your present self using old, outdated rules that no longer apply to the depth and complexity of the person you have become. We forget that the plans we made years ago were based on a very limited understanding of life. We didn't know what lessons we would need to learn, what quiet heartbreaks we would have to navigate, or what unexpected turns would be necessary to shape our character. Trying to force your current life into an old blueprint is like trying to wear clothes that fitted you when you were a child. It is uncomfortable, restrictive, and keeps you from breathing freely. Releasing that blueprint doesn't mean giving up on your dreams, and it certainly doesn't mean settling for less. It simply means having the courage to acknowledge that life rarely, if ever, moves in a straight, predictable line. The detours, the sudden halts, the unexpected pauses, and the seasons where everything seems delayed. These are not disruptions or interruptions to your real growth. Very often, they are the growth. They are the exact experiences that build the emotional resilience, wisdom, and clarity you will need when your moment finally arrives. Imagine how much lighter your heart would feel if you gave yourself permission to put down that old timeline today. Imagine forgiving yourself for not being where you thought you would be, and instead choosing to make peace with where you actually are. When you stop grieving the life you planned, you finally open your hands to receive the life that is quietly trying to unfold right in front of you. When you finally stop measuring your personal progress against the noise of the external world, the entire nature of your journey begins to change. You start to realize just how much energy you have wasted trying to keep up with a crowd that isn't even walking toward the same destination as you. We live in a world that constantly glorifies speed, pushing us to rush every season, produce faster, and reach the finish line as quickly as possible. But speed is a deeply deceptive measure of success. Moving fast in the wrong direction or rushing into a life you aren't ready to sustain is infinitely more exhausting than moving slowly and intentionally toward what is genuinely right for you. When you rush your life, you miss the very landscape you are trying so hard to build. You miss the quiet lessons, the small victories, and the deep emotional roots that only form when you take your time. The Swiss psychiatrist Carl Jung reflected deeply on human agency and personal growth when he wrote, "I am not what happened to me. I am what I choose to become." This profound insight is a gentle reminder that your past delays, your previous disappointments, or the times you felt forced to slow down, do not get to write the final sentence of your story. You are not bound to a chaotic or rushed timeline simply because things felt out of control before this moment. Every single day presents you with a quiet, powerful choice. The choice to step out from under the heavy expectations of others, leave behind the panic of past setbacks, and decide how you will construct your path forward from this point on. Reclaiming your pace means giving yourself unconditional permission to grow at the rate that allows for true depth, rather than settling for superficial speed. It means honoring your human limits, respecting your need for rest, and understanding that a steady, quiet walk will carry you much further than a desperate sprint. Imagine what happens when you step out of the race entirely. The constant noise in your mind begins to settle. The urgent panic that tells you that you are falling behind starts to fade away. You begin to walk with a clear head and a steady heart, making decisions rooted in wisdom rather than fear. You realize that your life is not a competition to be won against anyone else, but a personal space to be lived fully, thoughtfully, and deeply. Give yourself grace for moving at the speed your heart requires today. Trust that your slow, deliberate steps are laying a foundation so solid that nothing down the road will be able to easily shake it. You are not late. You are simply learning to move at your own natural, healthy pace. Transformation rarely arrives with a loud declaration or a sudden, dramatic flourish that the whole world notices at once. Most of the time, real healing happens far out of sight, in the quietest, most unglamorous corners of your ordinary days. It comes through tiny, subtle shifts in your daily habits, your internal dialogue, and your emotional reactions to the world around you. You might first notice it on a quiet Tuesday evening, when a situation that used to spark immediate panic or defensiveness inside you now barely registers a reaction. A minor setback occurs, or plans suddenly change, and instead of spiraling into self-doubt or frustration, you simply take a deep breath and adapt. You notice a quiet, unfamiliar calm sitting where a storm used to blow through your chest. Or perhaps you notice it in the way you communicate with those around you. You find yourself choosing to walk away from an argument that leads nowhere, realizing that protecting your emotional peace is far more valuable than proving a point. You start setting quiet, healthy boundaries without feeling the overwhelming need to apologize for having needs in the first place. You might find your appetite for life changing in small, surprising ways. The chaotic environments and frantic distractions that used to pull at your attention suddenly feel draining and unappealing. Instead, you begin to crave simple routines, quiet spaces, and moments that bring genuine rest to your mind. You start to notice how you handle unexpected delays, a canceled train, a rainy afternoon, or a decision that gets pushed back, with a newfound patience that surprises even you. You begin to protect your focus, your time, and your emotional energy far more carefully than you ever did before. You gently turn away from habits, conversations, and habits of mind that used to consume hours of your time, choosing instead to invest that energy back into your own well-being and growth. These tiny, unglamorous shifts are the quiet, irrefutable proof that you are evolving. You are laying down the old survival mechanisms that kept you guarded and reactive, and you are building a strong, spacious internal structure, one that can comfortably sustain greater responsibilities, deeper relationships, and true fulfillment when they arrive. It is easy to dismiss these internal moments because they don't come with immediate external rewards or public praise. No one sends a card to celebrate the day you quietly chose to speak kindly to yourself in front of a mirror, or the day you let go of an old grudge without expecting an apology. But those hidden victories are the true milestones of a human life. So give yourself credit for every subtle sign of growth you witness within yourself. Notice how far you've come from the person who used to let every small wave knock them over. You are growing stronger, calmer, and clearer every single day, and the person you are becoming is quietly getting ready for everything that lies ahead. A common, aching fear that haunts us during long seasons of waiting is the terrifying belief that we have somehow missed our chance. When you see time passing and watch opportunities drift away, a quiet panic builds deep in your chest. You worry that the door meant for you has slammed shut forever, or that the position, the connection, or the timing you so desperately hoped for has been given away to someone else who moved faster or tried harder. This constant fear creates a restless, subtle panic inside, making every single delay feel like a permanent, devastating loss. We live with the fragile idea that our future is so delicate that one wrong step, one season of fatigue, or one missed moment can permanently ruin our entire path. We look at what didn't work out and replay those moments over and over in our minds, wondering what we could have done differently to keep them from slipping through our fingers. But there is a profound, grounding truth that can bring immense relief to a tired heart. Opportunities that are truly aligned with your actual abilities, your values, and your psychological readiness cannot be permanently lost to someone else. What passes you by during a season when you were unready, unaligned, or simply exhausted was not your lost destiny. It was simply not the right fit for that specific stage of your life. Trying to hold on to something that isn't ready for you, or something you aren't yet ready to carry, only creates friction and heartbreak. When an opportunity forces you to abandon your peace or compromise your core self just to keep it alive, it was never truly yours to begin with. When something is genuinely suited for you, it requires your specific perspective, your exact mix of life experiences, your unique voice, and the depth of character you have built through every struggle you've faced. No one else can take what requires your specific soul to fulfill. The slow preparation you are undergoing right now in the quiet background is not keeping you from your life. It is what ensures that when the right moment arrives, you won't just reach it. You will be strong enough, wise enough, and grounded enough to hold it with confidence and grace. Imagine how much peace comes from trusting that you do not have to fight, scramble, or compete for what belongs to you. You can stop viewing life as a scarce, desperate race where everyone else is stealing your portion. If something drifted away from you, let it go with a gentle heart. Trust that if it was meant to stay, it would have stayed. And if it left, it was simply clearing space for something that fits the person you are becoming today, rather than the person you used to be. What is truly meant for you will find you, and when it arrives, it will feel like coming home. We often focus entirely on the end goal we are desperate to reach, completely forgetting to focus on the person we need to become in order to hold that outcome safely once it arrives. We pray for open doors, for grand opportunities, and for our lives to suddenly shift. But we rarely pause to ask ourselves if our hearts and minds are actually strong enough to handle the weight of what we are asking for. Readiness is so much more than mere desire or intense enthusiasm. It is about building deep, internal capacity, cultivating self-awareness, and developing true emotional maturity. It is easy to want the reward without realizing the silent strain that comes with it. If you were given everything you wished for right this second, without undergoing the quiet preparation that refines your character, the blessing itself could easily overwhelm you. The Swiss psychiatrist Carl Jung touched on the profound dignity of this inner evolution when he wrote, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." To truly become who you are requires stripping away the constant urge to perform for the crowd or pretend to be further along than you actually feel. It means stepping out from behind the masks you put on to impress others and having the brave humility to accept your present reality fully as it is. It means dedicating yourself to the unglamorous daily work of building your skills, learning to regulate your heavy emotions, and developing a deep understanding of your own heart. When you shift your focus away from demanding immediate results and place it instead on authentic personal growth, readiness develops naturally and quietly. You stop looking for shortcuts or superficial validation, and you start building an internal foundation that no sudden storm can knock down. You become grounded, clear-headed, and resilient. qualities that stay with you, no matter how the external world shifts or changes. Think of this quiet season not as an empty waiting room where life has passed you by, but as a private workshop where you are being carefully prepared. Every time you choose patience over panic, every time you take responsibility for your own healing, and every time you quietly practice your craft when no one is watching, you are increasing your capacity to hold great things. When your moment finally arrives, you won't have to fake your confidence or pretend you belong there. You will step forward naturally with a quiet and steady heart, knowing that the strength inside you was built slowly, honestly, and thoroughly through every quiet hour of becoming ready. Trusting the timing and unfolding of your life is not a passive act of sitting back, folding your hands, and waiting for things to magically fall into your lap. It is an active, courageous posture of engaging fully with where you are today, while gently letting go of the desperate need to control every single detail of tomorrow. It means choosing to show up for your daily life with care, devotion, and presence, even when you cannot see the full picture of where all these small steps are taking you. It means doing the quiet, unglamorous work right in front of you, reading the page, writing the sentence, practicing the skill, maintaining your routines, and tending to your responsibilities, without constantly stopping to check the clock to see if recognition, success, or approval has arrived yet. Think about how much lighter your daily life begins to feel when you stop treating every moment as a high-stakes test you must constantly pass. When you live in a state of perpetual urgency, every minor delay feels like a catastrophe, and every quiet day feels like a wasted opportunity. You spend so much energy worrying about whether you are doing enough to secure your future that you lose the capacity to actually experience your present. When you finally allow your life to unfold at its natural pace, your energy shifts completely from anxious control to deep engagement. You begin to notice the quiet beauty of the details you previously rushed past in a hurry to get somewhere else. You start finding genuine value, dignity, and peace in the process itself, rather than viewing the present moment merely as an annoying obstacle standing between you and the life you want to live. Trusting your path means recognizing that a seed planted in the soil does not grow faster because you stand over it, demanding to see the stem. It grows because it is given water, sunlight, and the quiet space of time in the dark. Your life operates under the very same natural principles. You cannot force a flower to bloom before its season, and you cannot rush the deep, necessary stages of your own human development. So today, try to practice laying down the need to know how every future chapter will play out. Focus entirely on the step you are taking right now, no matter how small or unremarkable it might seem to anyone else. Trust that every honest effort, every quiet moment of patience, and every decision to stay present is weaving together into something far greater than you can see right now. You do not need to hold the whole world together You only need to trust the step beneath your feet. If you have spent a long, quiet season in the background, working without applause, enduring setbacks that nobody else saw, and rebuilding your foundation brick by brick in the quiet hours of the night, I need you to listen to me very carefully right now. None of that effort was wasted. Not a single tear you shed in private. Not a single hour you spent working on yourself when you felt completely invisible. And not a single quiet decision to keep going when giving up would have been so much easier. None of it was in vain. We live in a culture that only celebrates the finished building, completely ignoring the long, dusty months spent digging the foundation deep into the earth. But the depth you have gained during this quiet period of your life is precisely what will give you unshakable stability when the light turns toward you. A tree with shallow roots can look beautiful for a short season, but the first real storm that rolls through will tear it out of the ground. The roots you have been growing during this quiet time are deep, strong, and anchored in truth. When your moment comes, you won't be swept away by it, because you have spent time learning how to stand firm in who you are. Your time is coming. It is coming not because of sheer luck, and not because the world suddenly decided to be kind to you, but because you are doing the essential, necessary internal work required to handle it with grace. You are learning to trust your own pace, to honor your personal evolution, and to accept the reality of your unique journey without comparing it to anyone else's. You are clearing away the emotional clutter, letting go of the need for cheap validation, and making room in your life for something genuine and long-lasting. Think about how much you have survived just to arrive at this very moment. Think about the heartbreaks that felt like they would break you completely. The disappointments that made you wonder if you should just stop trying. And the long, lonely stretches where you felt like you were calling out into an empty room. Yet, here you are. You are still breathing. You are still reading these words. You still have that quiet, stubborn flicker of hope resting inside your chest, whispering that there is more to your story than what you have experienced so far. That flicker is not a delusion. It is the quiet knowing of your own spirit telling you that your story isn't over. Your time is coming. And when it arrives, it won't feel like a frantic, desperate struggle to keep your head above water. It will feel like a natural, quiet blooming. It will feel like stepping out of a long, cold winter into the warm sunlight of a spring morning. You will look around at your life, at the peace in your heart, the stability in your steps, and the beauty of what you have built, and you will realize why every delay was necessary. You will see why those old doors had to slam shut, why those past connections had to fade away, and why you were kept in the dark just long enough to learn how to generate your own light. So as you step forward into tomorrow, keep showing up for yourself in those small, unseen ways that nobody else praises. Keep making your bed in the morning. Keep taking slow breaths when the anxiety creeps in. Keep treating yourself with gentleness when you make a mistake. And keep working quietly on the things that matter to you. Keep building your capacity, refining your focus, and remaining steady in the face of uncertainty. You do not need to push, scream, or force your way into rooms that aren't ready for you. You don't need to exhaust yourself trying to convince the world of your value. What is truly aligned with your effort, your growth, your character, and your heart is already making its way to you. It is moving toward you at the exact speed it needs to. And when it finally arrives at your doorstep, you will not have to scramble or pretend to be someone else to keep it. You will simply open the door, step across the threshold with a clear mind and a peaceful heart, and realize that you have been ready all along. Your time is arriving. Trust it, welcome it, and know deep down in your soul that you have earned every single bit of the light that is coming your way. As these words begin to settle into the quiet spaces of your mind, take a slow, deep breath. Let your shoulders fall away from your ears. Release the tension in your jaw, and allow yourself to simply rest in this exact moment. You have traveled through a long landscape of reflection today. You have looked at the weight of waiting, the frustration of feeling lost in the dark, the invisible labor happening beneath the surface of your life, and the quiet beauty of letting go of rigid timelines. You have examined what it means to reclaim your own pace, to recognize the subtle signs of your own evolution, and to trust that what is truly yours can never be stolen or lost. Now, as we stand at the threshold of this journey's conclusion, it is time to bring all of those gentle insights back home to yourself. When you close this tab or step away from this screen today, the world outside will still be moving at its frantic, noisy speed. Traffic will still be rushing down the streets. Notifications will still be flashing. And society will continue to whisper its endless, anxious demands that you should be doing more, achieving faster, and constantly proving your worth to anyone who happens to be watching. The urge to fall back into old patterns of panic, self-doubt, and desperate striving will be waiting right at your doorstep. This is why an epilogue is so necessary. An epilogue is not just a polite goodbye or a summary of what came before. It is a bridge. It is the sacred space where reflection turns into lived integration. It is where you decide that the peace and clarity you felt while listening to these thoughts will not remain trapped in a video or an audio track, but will instead walk with you into your kitchen, into your workplace, into your conversations, and into the quiet hours right before you fall asleep. Think back to where you were when you first began listening. Perhaps you carried a heavy knot of anxiety in your stomach about a decision that hasn't yielded results yet. Perhaps you felt a sting of quiet envy while watching someone else walk into a blessing you have been praying for over many long years. Or perhaps you were simply tired, so deeply, profoundly tired of holding your own life together with sheer willpower while waiting for a sign that things are going to change. Look at where you are right now in this very second. You are still here. Your heart is still beating its steady, faithful rhythm inside your chest. The breath in your lungs is entering and leaving without you having to force or command it. Life is continuing to sustain you, even in the middle of your uncertainty. That is not an accident. It is evidence that your story is still actively being written. We often make the mistake of believing that our lives only truly begin when the big, visible milestones finally arrive, when the job is secured, when the relationship is healed, when the dream project is launched, or when the recognition finally comes. We treat the long stretches of waiting in between as empty, throwaway time, viewing our daily lives merely as a waiting room, where we sit impatiently until our real lives begin. But this quiet space, right here in the present, is your life. These unglamorous, ordinary days, where you choose to be kind to yourself, where you drink your water, where you wash your face, where you keep showing up for your responsibilities, and where you choose hope over bitterness. This is where your character is forged. This is where your soul learns how to hold weight without breaking. When your time comes, and it is coming, you will not look back at this season of waiting with regret. You will look back at it with a profound, quiet gratitude. You will realize that if the door had opened a year earlier, or if the opportunity had arrived before you were ready, you might have burned out, lost your footing, or let it slip through your fingers. You will see that the delay was not a wall stopping you from moving forward. It was a protective fence, keeping you safe while your roots grew deep enough to support the fruit you were meant to bear. Carl Jung once reminded us that becoming who we truly are is the absolute privilege of a lifetime. That process of becoming cannot be rushed by panic, nor can it be bought with ambition. It requires time. It requires seasons of rain, just as much as seasons of bright sun. It requires moments where nothing seems to be blooming on the top, because all the energy is being directed into the dark earth down below. So as you prepare to return to your day, carry this quiet certainty with you. You do not need to compete with anyone. You do not need to feel ashamed for moving slowly. You do not need to explain your unique timeline to a world that only values speed. You are allowed to take your time. You are allowed to heal at your own pace. You are allowed to be a work in progress and a complete, worthy human being, all at the very same time. Before you step away from this space and return to the rhythm of your day, let us mark this moment together. Let us anchor this feeling so that whenever doubt tries to creep back into your mind later tonight or tomorrow morning, you have a physical, conscious reminder of the truth you embraced right here. Take a moment right now to leave one final, grounding affirmation in the comments below. I am letting go of control, honoring my quiet journey, and welcoming my time with an open heart. Write those words down or speak them out loud into the quiet room around you. Let the act of typing them be a gentle promise to yourself, a promise that you will stop treating your present life like an enemy to be conquered and start treating it like a sacred home to be lived in. Let it be a message to your own mind that you are choosing trust over fear, patience over panic, and self-compassion over harsh judgment. Thank you for sharing your time, your quiet presence, and your heart with this reflection today. Thank you for doing the silent, brave work of healing and becoming who you truly are, even when nobody is watching to applaud you. Keep your head up, keep your heart soft, and keep taking one small, steady step at a time. What is aligned with your soul, your effort, and your patience is already making its way to you. Your time is arriving. Trust it, welcome it, and know that you are entirely ready for everything that is waiting ahead.